the world of Lan, a great war between the continents of Ebros and Alkesh is forcibly brought to an end by the Tempest, a cataclysmic storm that rages over the surrounding oceans. An uneasy peace has since been made, but over the last 2 centuries a cold war has frozen the hearts of many. The ice is brittle, and 4 adventurers must seek the hammer that can shatter that peace before someone else does. Welcome, dear viewer, to A Debt to a Friend, a homebrew campaign.
I would like to begin this session recap by commending the sheer tenacity of the A Debt to a Friend group. Never have I seen a group so determined to see a dungeon through using as few resources as possible. I genuinely believe that half this group is from Yorkshire, with the amount of savings that we used on spell slots and short rests. And we still left with resources at hand. We could have actually gone into another room, and I think possibly even done okay. But we thought, no, we're going to leave this dungeon having done what we've done. More on that later. So, session 4 of A Debt to a Friend begins with where we left off in the previous session on a cliffhanger. We managed to roll initiative and get a surprise round on 2 cultists that Rakanar and Takavrea Tak Nix had snuck up behind. Meanwhile, Cornelius and myself, Commissar Katusha Lostcows, were bringing up the rear. So Rakanar is about to try and swipe this cultist that's chanting in front of him. Unfortunately, he trips and he swings wide, scraping his axe along the wall. Cornelius stands in the doorway and shoots, managing to roll quite well, but only doing 1 point of damage. Takavrea, also behind another cultist, rolls a 20 to hit with his warhammer, moving his his hunter's mark from the gargoyle to the enemy. I should just explain as well. Takavrea Technics took the Oath of Vengeance, so I was wondering, like, oh, right, okay, so he took Oath of Vengeance because of his hunter's mark. So at least I'm pretty sure it's an Oath of Vengeance thing. Anyway, I launch a crossbow bolt for 14. And I actually do some impressive damage with 9 damage, striking the clavicle of an enemy. I don't know where the clavicle is, but Stuart Lee made a joke about it. That's all I really know about it. So in the, I guess, round 1, I thought you could consider that round 0, the surprise round. So the initiative count was 1 cultist got 18, so we'll call him Cultist 18. Rakanar got 16, Cultist 8, rather 1 cultist got an 8. Cornelius Bonaparte got 14, Takavrea Technics got 5, and myself got 2. What is the beginning of many, many low rolls. So, Cultist 18, he casts his spiritual weapon, causing a spectral flail to appear before Rakanar. The flail rolls a good 19 to hit, dealing damage. He then swipes with his dagger and rolls a 13 to hit, missing, and rolls an 18 on the second. So he's got like a good 2 attacks to his multi-attack, in addition to his bonus action spectral flail, or spectral weapon. It is called spectral weapon, isn't it? I should know, I am a cleric main. I say this as if I'm playing a MOBA. So he then decides, this cultist then decides that he's going to run out the northernmost door, so north of Rakanar, facing his east. And he runs through the door, and a searing heat wafts across the cultist's face, unable to really, across Rakanar's face. I put cultist's face in my notes, across Rakanar's face, and he is really unable to pay enough attention to notice where the cultist actually disappeared to, other than this room. So Rakanar then strikes the cultist facing attack, and he misses. Cornelius shoots the cultist again, missing. This cultist then tries to move through me. I think I'm in the hallway, like in the room at this point rather than the hallway, and he manages to get through the room to the north. Now this time, Takavir feels the heat and hears screaming as well. We decide that we don't want to go into that room without recovering some hit points and recuperating. We've already cleared quite a few rooms, as is we've cleared 1, 2, we've had like, let's see, how many counters? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like a good 5 rooms already, with a giant scorpion, gargoyle, the runes. There's a trapdoor as well, so technically 6, and yeah, some cultists in 2 rooms. So we decided we're going to disengage from combat, and as I'm the last to leave, I hear sizzling and screaming, so I'm starting to think, is there some sort of trap in that room? Also as well, Tak notices that his hunter's mark is no longer in effect, which usually only happens if it's sort of dispelled. I think it can be dispelled anyway, or the target either gets 1,000, I think it's like 1,000 feet out of range of the hunter's mark user, or the target dies. We decide that we're going to have a short rest and just recuperate, and we then proceed to go through the waterlogged room near the entrance, rather that was the entrance to the under temple. We wade through the water, and while Cornelius and I slip, I managed to actually trap my foot in between some of the broken cobblestones, and while I'm sort of like drowning here, I managed not to panic and proceed. Tak decides to take points, hearing cracking as he opens it gingerly, which Artio says, we're going to have to find out what the rules are for gingerly. Either you open it or you don't. So a cold, frigid air escapes the room, and there's now broken ice sloshing on the water before it starts pouring in, and there is now like a solid ice floor at a junction. So Tak goes ahead, and Tak and Rakanar go ahead, and they find that it's all ice, and underneath there's movement. The ice then bursts open, revealing 3 ice mephits. A rather menacing looking foe, but I have to say I like the artwork for them. Yeah, like comically lanky features, really. But yeah, still quite threatening. Yeah. So Tak is now stuck in the centre of 3 ice mephits, 1 on each of these junctions. So the initiative is one of the ice mephits roll. So the ice mephits roll 19, 7, and 5. Rakanar rolls 11. Cornelius rolls 10. Takavir rolls 9. Well, 9.9 we'll say, because they both roll 10. And I roll 4 again. To be honest, I like rolling low on initiative, especially as a healer, because you can't really do much healing in the first round unless you've taken damage from the previous round. But as I don't want to say like a leader character, that's not the connotations I kind of want to have. But as a character who sort of sees herself as the leader, she's really behind on things. She's supposed to be leading from the front, but I think leading from the rear is very quickly becoming her role. And then you know what? When I do that, I'll end up rolling really high initiative. Anyway, so one of the ice mephits springs forth and tries to strike at Tak, and fortunately he manages to just bash it away with his shield. Rakanar leaps into action, saying, "You get one, I get one!" And he's going to skid along the ice and just swing, managing to keep his footing. But unfortunately he misses through what is essentially like dry ice fog. Cornelius lines up his crossbow with a 14 and manages to do 6 damage to the northernmost ice mephit. Attacking Takavir. Tak strikes one of the mephits with his warhammer with a 16 and deals 8 damage. His hammer crushes through a lot of the ice that forms a lot of the core of the creature, and it seems to do more damage than expected. The northern method then launches a blast of cold requiring a dex save, so like a breath weapon, which is in like a line, and so Cornelius and Tak have to make a saving throw. Cornelius takes 3 points of cold damage, and Tak only takes 1. The western method then uses its ice breath, and Takavria and Rakanar both roll and save successfully. Again, only taking 1 point of damage each. And I manage to slip and slide as I'm trying to get in and join the action, and I take 6 points of damage from an ice method trying to attack. I think it was actually an attack of opportunity. Another ice method uses its ice breath and hits myself, Rakanar, and Tak for 3 points of cold damage in a line. In the second round of combat, Rakanar rolls a 10 for his great axe and unfortunately misses it, sort of getting it lodged into the frost-crusted wall. Cornelius aims a bolt and fires to miss. Takavir rolls a 16 to hit the method in front of him, dealing another 8 damage, and he kills it by swinging upwards with his towards its head, connecting and smashing it into snow. I really like that description. All of the ice methods miss with their attacks, and I also as well shoot and miss. On the third round of combat, Rakanar uses his great axe to roll a dirty 20, slashing with 7 damage. That's 5 plus his 2 rage damage. Cornelius uses a minor illusion to make Tak look like he's on fire, but it doesn't create the sensory effect of heat, only the illusion. Tak uses Sacred Flame, which does radiant damage, not fire damage, making the ice method in front of him take 3 damage. Tak's method is now scared and runs, triggering an attack of opportunity. With his Warhammer and Bardic Inspiration, he strikes successfully, dealing 14 damage. Rakanar takes 3 points of damage from the ice method, and that's unfortunate, but however he does get his revenge. Oh no, I get my revenge. I get revenge for him. What am I about? I just shoot for 15 and do 11 damage. Oh yes, Rakanar does get his damage, his revenge. I can't speak today. Rakanar rolls a 20 to hit with his great axe, swings hard, dealing 12 damage, killing the final method. We decide to heal up and compare results on how we thought we dealt with things. After some debate, the party decides what they're going to do at this junction. They can either go east, they can either go west, north, or east. And so we roll like a d3 to find out, and so Tak decides that he's going to go towards the left. He comes across 2 doors to the north and south, and he goes north. The southernmost door we basically gather is the room where the cultists screamed and possibly died, or at the very least fell unconscious. So Tak opens up the door and finds that in there is a well-like structure or a pool, and within he glimpses something shiny, but he turns his head and says, "I'm not looking in the well. We're not doing that again with the runes from the previous session." Cornelius, knowing that there is sort of like sentient life in this place, and uses an illusion to summon the image of a micropig to see if it whatever's in there leaps out and grabs the illusion. But nothing happens. So Tak then decides to open the northernmost door again, another northernmost door rather. And as he does, tiles and stones start to grumble and shake, and he's got to make a dex save. Unfortunately, he only rolls a 2, and he takes 9 points of damage. Within this room that he's in, though, at least he's alive, thank goodness. It's ankle deep and filled with a musty smell of damp and mildew. Rakanar then decides that he's going to go to the left, because there's another 3 doors here, and he decides to go to the westernmost door. In there, it's very much like a sauna with a tapestry on the westernmost wall, and it's difficult to see what it depicts, the room having a steamy haze rising that's in a way quite too relaxing to really allow focus. It's untying many knots that have come with combat. Takavir rolls investigation. He rolls a 9, 10 minus 1 to check the tapestry, but he doesn't really see anything about it in particular. Rakanar rolls a natural 1, not even knowing what even a tapestry is. And so Cornelius goes into the room and gives what can only be described as a very graphic description of what happens. I can't see. It's times like this that make me not want to write the session recap notes. Cornelius goes into the room, feeling the sweat between his rolls, and people are like, "Too much, man, too much." You just pity. And then you get notes like he's taking off his sweaty robes that he's worn for ages and hasn't like washed or anything like that, and you just see a saggy old sack, and I'm like, good grief, oh my word. And I'm the last to go in, and I try to look everywhere and just go, yes, the floor is made of floor, and then proceed to look out, which is a shame because I think my history skill is quite good, and no, I think it's like a +3 maybe, which actually isn't too bad for that level. And I really wish like I'd maybe rolled, but I'm like, no, I'm not doing that when he's got his leg up on a bench or whatever and trying to aerate everything. Dear me. But Cornelius, with only his leather armour on, and otherwise I think completely naked, rolls to investigate to look at the tapestry, and he rolls a 22, that's a 19 +3, revealing that it's a primordial spot that has significance to Vulca. The tapestry shows a volcano that he sees basically on its own, but it's surrounded by ocean, and that there may be another temple or something that is considered sacred to Vulca in terms of power in this tapestry. We decide that we're going to go into the easternmost room, and that one is ice cold. To the south of that then is just bear with me as I find the right picture on my screen. To the south that just leads to the junction. So where the junction was before, it's basically the northernmost room. And so now we decide that we're going to go. The only way now to go is north. Rakanar opens the northernmost door and is subject to a blast of heat and steam. He pushes on, feeling a blast of heat with a Constitution save of 13. Takavir must do the same, but with a Constitution check with disadvantage due to his metal armor. He rolls a 12, and his armor is burning. As he's trying to get through this passage, sort of grinning and bearing it, and he's still taking this heat. And he rolls 12, and he has resistance to the fire, and although he takes 1 level of fire damage, he still takes a level of exhaustion. So exhaustion gives, I think, a disadvantage on ability, and I think even skill checks as well, I'm not sure. So that's not good. So Cornelius tries to go through, and he says, I can't, it's simply too hot to walk through there. So Rakanar and Takavir, they're just standing at the end of this tunnel saying, hey, what do you see over there? I see a couple of cowards, and that really ticks Katyusha off. She takes off her cap, she throws off her coat, and she just runs in there, just saying, no man left behind! And what was it? Adversaret ad morsus, resistant bites! And just it's just like citing Sabaton lyrics that you're running through. I roll a 6 for Constitution. I take 3 points of fire damage and exhaustion, and I should have used my inspiration that I was given. Oh yes, of course, full disclosure as well, I was given an inspiration point for the session recap video before. My DM watches these, I'll probably have to tell him in person. I would appreciate not getting them in future because that's not fair on the other players. But I do appreciate the gesture, and I do believe that I later used it. I've marked it on D&D Beyond as used, so that so it's gone. And what good it did me as well. So Cornelius, seeing my display of basically getting blistered and boils all over me, decides to run through, throwing his robe off, stopping, dropping, and rolling in water, as I did before, and launches himself into the room. And he manages, I think, to take... And I think he was exhausted as well. So, now that we're here, this room is baking, and there's only one way through, so we have to go through the westernmost door. So Rakanar opens the door to reveal a chamber with a vaulted ceiling. There is a dais that looks like an anvil in the centre of this room, with a stone coffer sat next to it. A hammer sits on top of this anvil, and a closed chest sits at the foot of the anvil. On the ceiling, Rakanar sees a writhing pool of lava. It drops down in front of him, and combat begins. As we roll initiative, Takavir rolls a 17, Cornelius 13, Mr. Lava Lava, as I've called him, an 8, me 5, and Rakanar rolls 3. So only Rakanar is unsurprised by this and notices the rest of the group. I should have also pointed out as well, I think Cornelius has the alert feed, so he should have got unsurprised for this as well. So, anyway, so Rakanar notifies the rest of the group. He rolls a 20 with his great axe and hits this giant blob of molten lava. And our DM says, "That is fucking nasty." You didn't hear that. He rolls damage and he does 11 points of damage. The magma splits and it doesn't look as though it hurt the creature. And it seems to splash back, hitting Rakanar for 4 points of damage. So Takavir then rolls Toll the Dead, doing 8 necrotic damage to the creature. Cornelius uses Minor Illusion to create an ice illusion on attack and gives a bardic inspiration to Rakanar. The puddings, as they're known, lava puddings, change form to almost look like spider-like, with legs sprouting out. I was thinking of like that scene in John Carpenter's The Thing where like the legs sprout out their head. Anyway, so it rolls a natural 20 on Takavir and it causes him to take 5 points of fire damage. The second one moves towards Takavir and attacks, rolling 12 to hit and missing. I run to Rakanar saying, "I need a decanter of endless water!" And so I reach up to his pack and take it from him and proceed then to figure out how it works and line myself up to use it. In round 2, Rakanar rolls a 15 to hit with his hot great axe and does the maximum 15 points of slashing damage that he can with it. He rolls... It feels like he's slashing into water, splitting it, but it doesn't recoalesce. Takavir casts Toll the Dead, doing 11 points of damage to the lava puds, to one of the lava puds, followed by his Channel Divinity, Vow of Enmity, to get an advantage on an attack roll on it for 1 minute or until it drops to 0 HP. I really like that ability, to be honest. That's quite good. So Cornelius uses a Cure Wounds on Takavir to restore a whopping 15 HP. The Micropods attack Rakanar, missing both times, and the Megapod attacks Takavir and hits with a dirty 20. And this is when I use the decanter of endless water. I command it by shouting "Geyser!" So it has 3 modes, like fountain, stream, and geyser. And I command it to blast like a riot hose. Blast of 1d4 bludgeoning damage with a DC check of strength 14. And if they fail, it's 1d4 bludgeoning damage and being knocked prone. Well, if these things can. Brig, as our DM called it, Big Red succeeds, but the Micropods fail their save, and the Blue Pudding dies. In the third round of combat, Rakanar swipes and splits the Micropods some more. Tak rolls to hit the big lava pudding with a 5, smashing it with his hammer but not doing as much damage. However, it doesn't seem to coalesce as easily. And this is when I think I'm starting to realise this is very much like glass blowing, or like the forging process, which is appropriate because we are in front of an anvil right now. So where were we? So Cornelius leans out from behind Tack's shield and he rolls with his crossbow, and he manages to attack without disadvantage. To say he's in, I think, melee range. I couldn't remember the circumstances unless I think there was something going on that I can't quite remember. I do apologise. Anyway, he attacks and he looses a bolt, having prey to Malil, and with a 21, he hits successfully and does 6 damage. And the lava pudding doesn't seem to reform itself with this small bolt hole through it. I decide to run around the characters again and trying to hit a different part of the puddings. I decide to once again use the geyser command to cool them down, but it's not really doing all that much. So Green Pud, as I've called it, loses its arachnid features and goes back into a blob sitting by Rakanar, so it's used its action to transform. The other swings and misses. Rakanar kicks Dirt with an unarmed strike, 16 to hit, and it seems to have taken the full amount of bludgeoning damage of 4. And he notices as well that like the dirt and the sand and other debris in the temple here has actually caused it to become somewhat extinguished, as you would by using sand. So that's pretty good. Tekavria strikes with his Warhammer, causing Big Red to gurgle and bubble with the blunt force, dealing 5 points of damage. And now Big Red, rather than going on the offense, transforms into a big defensive ball thing. Quote my notes. I once again use the Geyser command, Geyser, and try and just launch water at the this thing, and it's not really doing much. I mean, it does like 3 points of damage, so it's not bad. In round 5, the Micropad Puds seem to damage each other in an attempt to be more defensive. Rakanar rolling 24 to hit with an unarmed strike, again kicking Dirt and Stone on the final mini pudding now. Tack rolls Toll the Dead to attack the pudding, dealing 4 damage as he starts to step away. Cornelius calls upon Melee one more time for the bolt to strike 2. True, and he does hit, but unfortunately I didn't actually manage to get the information for that one. Big Red comes out of its defensive mode, and it comes out of its defensive mode, and it strikes. It tries to just basically slosh lava at me, and unfortunately it does succeed, dealing 5 bludgeoning damage and 4 fire damage. I used the command word Fountain this time to dump 5 gallons of water upon it versus a Constitution saving throw of 13, and it takes 5 points of damage. And apparently it was supposed to do like 2d6. I was told to do 2d6, and so I did. So that's alright. So that worked out better than 1d4 plus pro. In the final round, the 6th round, Rakanar rolls a natural 1 plus 5 to strike Big Red, having it splash lava back at him, causing 8 damage. Tekavria rushes in to seeing me in danger and rolls 16 and 14 with his Warhammer, thanks to his Channel Divinity. He does 8 points of damage, splitting the carbon rock into cracks, and eventually pieces start crumbling away and it falls. The hardened lava is no more. Combat ends. Cornelius asks if I'm hurt, and I say I'm fine. I use the decanter of endless water, just pour water all over me for what is a rather exhausting fight, and just start splashing it around playfully. Probably in no small amount of hysterics as well. I go to Rakanar and hand him the decanter of endless water, saying thank you for that, and he says no, you keep it, you seem more in tune with it, and so I do. Rakanar decides he's going to go up to the chest and rolls a 2. He sees no pressure plates, no tripwires, no traps. He opens it up smoothly and sees 5 gems in perfect condition, all in a line. 1 red, 1 blue, 1 green, and 1 amber, and 1 deep shade of purple. Cornelius, being a man of melee, a priest, asks if you intend on taking them. And Rakanar, after some debate, which I unfortunately couldn't get all down, but they roleplayed it spectacularly well, says that he has no use for religion, and scoops them up. And we don't realise that those will come in handy very, very soon. As soon as Tak... as this is going on, Tak feels compelled to walk towards this hammer with a charisma save of 22. As soon as he touches the hammer, he sees a flash of light appear in front of him. He finds himself alone atop an island with thunder and lightning wrapping all around him. At the end of the isle is a hammer crackling with energy. With the 15 perception, he finds himself not on a mountain, but an area filled with lightning and runes. He feels and sees the lightning emanate and crackle. He rolls a charisma save of 17 to resist the compulsion to touch it, and he feels a prickling at his arm, as if his hairs were standing up on end. Being a dragonborn, he doesn't have hairs, but you imagine this is what it'd feel like if he did. And so he reaches out towards this hammer, and a voice enters his head saying, "Forge!" And Tak's taken aback by this. The voice sounds like a rumble of thunder, raw and elemental, like 2 mountains grating and grinding against one another. It takes a lot for him to not fall to his knees with the overwhelming pressure.
Will you use me to build?
Takavir asks, "Build what?" It rumbles back.
Return. Forge.
And Takavir, being a blacksmith, says, "Forging is my way of life. Assuming you want me to return you to forge, who do you want me to return you to?"
Forge.
He detects a hint of affirmation. He must forge, but for what purpose, he doesn't know. Takavir tries to consult the Raven Queen. He rolls a charisma check to see if he can try and feel that bond that he has with her, the strings of fate pulling him. He feels the beating of a bird's wings, but then it's gone. He takes that as a sign of affirmation and says, "Forge we shall then." He reaches out and grabs a hold of the hammer. Thunder roils around him. He feels as if he's being banded around, but he manages to barely hold his ground. And the hammer lights up the atmosphere, and Takavir himself feels electric, and a voice bellows out,
The pact is saints.
The sound of thunder goes away. Tak finds himself back in the room. He looks at his own hammer and finds something has burnt itself into his warhammer. Traces of electricity leap across it. Something has changed to his hammer. Something has happened to his hammer and within himself. But he can't discern what it is yet. No longer was his warhammer what it once was. It seems as though a spirit has transferred into the hammer, and he has the hammer of Volker as it was intended. It requires a human. We do not notice any of this as we were bickering over gems. Only Tak knows that he has the feeling of power. He takes the hammer of Volker from the anvil, not the real one, simply an image of it, and retracting his hand from the slight touch. It's just a fairly standard hammer now. Tak gets nervous and snatches Cornelius' hand from the hammer. He'll hold onto the hammer himself. Cornelius, nearing the entrance, says he hears chanting coming from one of the unexplored eastern rooms. We each roll perception following Cornelius 10. 14 from me, 10 from Tech, and 5 from Reckonar. And I hear 2 noises. I hear that, and a hammer striking an anvil in the room opposite. I ask if we've got the right hammer. We talk about what we can do. I look at the northern room. Oh, sorry, right. So, we talk about what we can do. We can either exit the temple now, we've kind of got what we wanted to. We can deal with the remaining cultists that we know of. We can investigate the room with the smithing sounds, or we can leave. So, I decide, right, it's my turn to take charge. I'm going to go ahead and look at the northernmost room, and what do I see? I see 3 cultists, which I don't have the screenshots of. Never mind then. So yeah, so there are 3 cultists in this room. So that's when we roll initiative. Round 1, the cultist rolls 16. So the 2 cultists roll 16 and 8. The red robe cultist rolls 15. Cornelius rolls a 14.9. Reckonar rolls a 14. Tack rolls 11, and I roll 2. The red robe cultist says, "Finish the ritual." A black robe cultist slashes at me with a scimitar, dealing for 17, dealing 6 points of damage to me. Cornelius charges to us and performs a vicious mockery on the cultist, saying, "Hey, you in the robes! Can't you and your friends just die already?" And he does 3 damage, which is pretty good, because I think it does like a 1d4. Reckonar strikes with his great axe, missing with 11. Takavria moves through one of the cultists, rolls 19 strength. He's now at the base of this fountain that they're all chanting around. And so I use my command word Geyser to knock Tack and the cultist in front of me down, unfortunately, dealing 2 damage to both, so that wasn't great. The cultist I knocked down gets up and strikes Takavria for 17, just missing. The red-robed cultist is still focused on the ritual, and the fountain in the middle, covered in these runes, starts to hum. Cornelius uses his minor illusion to have a voice say, "Stop the ritual and kill these heretics!" Reckonar steamrolls to a cultist and deals 15 damage with a roll of 14, slicing them in twain. Takavria gets up and swipes the cult leader, unfortunately not able to break his concentration from the ritual. The cultist tries to attack Tack, and he drops his weapons in the process. I fail to hit that one with my Geyser. In round 3, the red robe cultist gets into the swing of things. The runes on the fountain start to glow fiery in colour. Cornelius looses a bolt and kills the grey robed cultist with 8 piercing damage. Reckonar uses his reckless attack to give himself advantage on his next hit. He rolls 18 and 20, so the 20 hits, to hit, and he does 6 slashing damage to the cultist leader. And although he unfortunately does roll concentration and succeeds, Takavria uses Takavria uses his Toll of the Dead, a wisdom saving throw of 14, which is quite good. Do 4 damage to one of the cultists. I fire my crossbow at long last and manage to roll an 18 and do 8 damage. The leader fails his ritual as his lung is punctured, the fountain dimming. And as he's now failed this ritual, he's starting to try and disengage and get through everyone. He slips on the ice, and after beating mine and Cornelius' contest of strength scores. I don't think he did. He disengaged, but he seems to have a bonus action, and he strikes Cornelius for 23, costing him 4 points of force damage. I think that's with his spiritual weapon. Spiritual weapon, that was all, not spectral weapon. I do apologise. Got there in the end. So Cornelius is knocked against the wall, but as he pulls the trigger on his crossbow with disadvantage by accident, rolling 9 to miss. He rolls ordinary inspiration to roll. He uses his ordinary inspiration to roll 19. The bolt doing 1 point of damage. Reckonar rolls 23 to hit, dealing 4 damage. The cult fanatic, on his way out now on the ice, has a grievous wound but still clings to life. Takavria moves, but he just can't reach the cultist and he can't really see it. And so it's up to me. in the end of round 3 to shoot and kill the cultist. A bolt simply just goes under his chin and out the other side of his head as he's lying down on the ice. Combat ends. And this is where we meet Alan.
Dead fucking easy, eh?
Summon Alan, he's a fire dwarf, send him to the forge, and give him all the ingots on which the Azer gorge. He'll keep watch while we commit our plans. Summon next door to Alan. 3 red robe blokes, another 2 in grey, armed to the teeth in knives with scimitars and spectral flails, and disappearing axe-knives smithing next door to Alan. That was a bit of my parody of the Kevin Bloody Wilson song, a very politically incorrect one, called Living Next Door to Alan, which I imagine is also a parody of Living Next Door to Alice. I tend to write songs about my adventures in D&D, so that's just a little bit of them there. And so anyway, so this is where we met the Azer, which a DM called the Azer. I am going off like 2 pronunciations that I've heard. I think like one was from Marisha Ray of Critical Role on D&D Beyond. So we met this little fire creature called Alan the Azer, and he spoke, and I wrote it down as a mosquito, and I should have picked it up earlier, but I think our DM was getting this voice from Spyro the Dragon's Sparks the Dragonfly character, going zip 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 zip. And he was speaking in Ignan, and we were thinking, what the fuck is Ignan? Like, what book did you get that from? And we were all, like, so he and I are just checking through these books, like, this ain't in the PHP, and he says, oh yeah, it is actually from the elemental plane of fire, so sod you all! And I said, no, it's primordial, yeah, like, primordial is Ignan, so it's like, yeah, okay, fine. None of us speak primordial, though. It's like, it's the one language I take on every character, because I know that I'm going to talk to an elemental at some stage, and this is the one character I don't have it, and this is the one campaign where I'm going to need it. That's it. The first chance I get to learn a language, I think it takes a good while though. First chance I get to learn a new language is going to be primordial. That's it. I'm taking it, because I want to be able to talk to Alan the Ignan. Alan the Azer, rather. That's the Azer being the pronunciation that I think Marisha Ray used on D&D Beyond. So he's just going hello like that, and we're like, okay, well, so Takafria rolls an 17 insight to find it's asking a question when it's talking, and it's not pointing at us, more our backpacks. Tak proceeds to take out his pipe, and the Azer just very kindly goes up and lights it for him or whatever, using his thaumaturgy or whatever it is. What's the other spell that does things? Not thaumaturgy. I think it begins with C. I can't believe it. But yeah, not like control float or VCA. It's just like that's how I light my pipe for one of my wizard characters, Avon. Just takes his pipe and uses that and snaps his fingers. So he's doing that, creating a spark. Anyway, so he goes, oh, thank you. So this creature is rather friendly. We roll intelligence checks, and Cornelius is the only one who tells us that this is an Azer. They are master craftsmen, they are expert tradesmen, and they are natives of the elemental plane of fire. And they are also sworn enemies of the Ifriti. I've fought Ifriti, or rather at least encountered Ifriti in Baldur's Gate 2. They are not nice enemies. They're like one of like the genie subtypes. I think like the genie, because there's genie of the different elemental planes. So you've got the Jinn. You've got the Jinn of like I think it's the elemental plane of air, but then you've got these other like water ones as well, and sand ones, and Ifriti are like the ones of the elemental plane of fire. You can also have a warlock pact with them as well, pact with the genie. So it seems as though Alan the Azer, whose name we sort of get if we found, like we just decided to call him Alan after this encounter, and he searches to our bags as we take them down rather gleefully, and he's searching for something. He's not really bothered about all our gear, even the magical items, but he is searching for the gems. Reckonour pulls out a gem and the Aza claps, going neep neep. He counts the gems, takes 3 and gives 2 back as if he's giving him back his change. I roll investigation 21 to see what he's making, because he's got something going on in the forge. Because like he hands over. Oh, by the way, he hands over this bag, this sooty bag, and I can't believe I didn't mention it. This is basically what he's looking to trade, and so he gives Rakanar. And it's like Rakanar's got. I'm just gonna have to keep asking Rakanar for all these magic items off him now. He gives Rakanar a bag of holding. And I was like, oh, you know what, I really wanted to make a bag of holding, and now we don't need to. And also as well, I can't because it requires the usual magical crafting items. I thought you got, like, when you replicate a magic item, you just make it. You just have it in your inventory. But no, apparently you have to craft it. So then what's the point of... Well, you could just craft it anyway. What does being an artificer change about that, you know? Anyway... I roll a 21 investigation to see what he's forging as he's just carrying on. And apparently he's making a master crafted great axe, which Rakanar can use. By the way, I'm not complaining that Rakanar's getting all these magic items, not at all. It's just that like, if I need something for purposes of artifice, he's the one who's got them all. So anyway, yeah, so Rakanar offers the 2 gems and gives over the axe upon its completion as we all watch Alan the Aza make it. This is the Abyssal Warlord's Axe Blade. It is apparently an evolving weapon. It's forged from the very essence of the Fire Plane. As a bonus action, he can concentrate on the axe, battle axe. I think it's meant to be a great axe, I'm not sure. I don't know what it was. Anyway, concentrate on the axe and turn it into a great sword and turn it back into a... Yeah, it must be a great axe by slamming it, the pommel, onto the floor. When he does this, when he changes it from one form to another, so great axe to great sword and great sword to great axe, he causes a blast of 1d6 radiant damage upon a failed save. It does an extra... now, the axe, I think, does an extra 1d6 radiant damage on a hit. The great sword does an extra 1d6 damage against medium creatures or smaller aberrations. I think it's the sword that does an extra... No, the sword does an extra 1d6 of extra damage to medium or smaller aberrations. The axe does 1d6 extra damage to medium or larger aberrations. It's also a magical blade, so it's +1 to hit, and I think it requires attunement. Alan, the Aza, eventually waves us goodbye, going zip zip, and proceeds to proceed making something else. As he does, as we leave, he's waving us out. He looks across the dead cultists and goes, "Oh dear," and just carries on working on his on whatever else he's making next. And I think I'm like the last to walk out. I'm rather teary-eyed that Alan the Aza can't join us today. And that is where the session ends. We begin then to step out of the temple, having well and truly cleared it out. Whatever the machinations the cultists planned, they seem to have been stopped. A single Aza remains cheerily working away. And some have left this encounter with more than they bargained for. As for the rest, it's this part of our adventure is over. Surely this is what the Professor wanted. And on the end of our long rest, which we'll take, I think just as soon as we're outside, we shall be level 4. And we are due to play again, I can't believe it's only 4 days away, on the 12th of June. You can't know how forward I am looking to that session. Yeah, so, or maybe not, depending on if we're not going to Fort Hislop, because I need Rigsby, who I haven't got yet. So, fingers crossed that will be soon. I think there is talk about looking in the forests, looking at Oxglen for supplies and stuff, but yeah, well, we will see. We'll see what happens. So, thank you ever so much for watching. Take care, and I hope you enjoyed that little bit of a song. Perhaps if I play my bard Roscoe of Withylock, you might hear me sing a few more tunes in the future. Thanks very much for watching. Take care. It's Daphne.